going on YouTube? Big Dog Brett. Welcome back to the channel. Just kind of want to see how everybody was doing today. We're going to give everybody a few minutes to jump on here and then we'll start talking. It's just really nice out today and thought it'd be a good day to kind of sit around and chit chat, see how everybody's doing, and kind of catch up on some of the spring game stuff and some of the upcoming season info. Gonna kind of talk about what a little more in depth. I think it's the first live show I've done since the spring game. Kind of get into what I saw there, what I thought, what you guys saw, what you guys thought. Man, it is nice out. So who jumped on? Somebody jumped on. Who we got today? This live chat thing is always hard for me to get operating up and running right out of the gate. All right, so kind of been looking on some of the tape and stuff that I saw during the Georgia spring game, and obviously the both teams played pretty vanilla. Number one offense versus number one defense. Number two offense versus number two defense. Bought a program from that game and was not really let down at all by that. I was kind of surprised. Normally I don't buy programs. I think they're kind of a waste, but they did a really good job of looking at the new players that were coming in and kind of discussing, their story and accolades. Also listed, as you would expect, all of the jersey numbers and everything. So that was pretty cool to see. Thought the program was pretty interesting, overall, but yeah, program. What I did notice is during the spring game, Stokes Jr. was just all over the field. This guy was out there just ball hogging everything. One of the first passes that came his way, he picked it off. And what's going on, Kim? He picked off a pass and basically wrestled it away from Holloman and took it in for an end zone. And that kind of makes a statement. When you see other teams are obviously going to be watching Georgia. If you play in Alabama, if you play a Georgia, if you play a Clemson, you've got that game circled. You're going to be looking at that game going, man, we got to play these guys. We got to be ready. And so the only piece of tape that they have so far to look at really is the spring game. So they're going to be trying to evaluate players from that spring game and see who they can pit their guy up against, seeing who's going to be the best, matchup, obviously looking at height and speed and those sort of things, trying to figure out who's going to be the best player on their team to kind of match up against those players. So with Fromm has always played bad in a spring game. He'll be fine in a season. Yeah, I'm not worried about Fromm. But I'm not going to make any excuses either. Fromm looked like crap. He just looked terrible. He just looked bad. Yeah, Stokes was absolutely physical all day. Keith is right. He had a great G day. And the nice thing about it is that, and I don't know if you guys noticed this, but I didn't really see a whole lot of runs up the gut that went anywhere. And I really feel like that was kind of an Achilles heel. What's going on, Sarah? The last year, it just seems like anybody who wanted to run up the gut on us could just run 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 yards, whatever. But it looks like they did a pretty good job of getting that turned around. So hopefully that's fixed. Let me check something real quick. How's the signal coming in? Is it pretty clear? It's not garbled or any of that stuff? I got one of those Black Hawk or Nighthawk Wi-Fi routers that looks like a damn transformer. Excuse my language, but it seems to work pretty good. That's good. Thanks. What do I think about the Florida versus Miami game? I think Florida should trounce Miami. I mean, you're probably talking a 2-score win there. Miami's coming into a new head coach. Granted, Manny Diaz is a pretty good coach. But I really think that Dan Mullen, having been in a position a couple of years now, has probably got a little more cohesion with his team. I think Manny Diaz is going to be spending at least a year or two getting his team figured out, getting them working together, and it takes more than a year to do that. It takes more than an off season to do that. It just does. So I think that whenever they play, you'll see Florida will probably do a pretty good job of beating Miami. And now give Manny Diaz a couple of years. He's a good coach. He'll probably be able to start consistently beating Mullen if Mullen ends up keeping that job. That was a big problem last year. Running up the middle was a bad problem for us. Running up the middle was a horrible problem for us. I would get so disgusted while we couldn't stop that. And I think that's because, yeah, Mullen is a joke. He's 1-3 against the Dogs, by the way, for y'all that don't know. He's talking all this smack, which I'll get into that here in a minute. He's talking all this smack against UGA, and he can't beat us. But I think if you go back to Lorenzo Carter did an outstanding job of plugging up that hole in the middle, and whenever he disappeared, I feel like it left a pretty good gap on the defense. I think those guys were used to letting him handle that stuff in the middle and didn't know how to respond. Fortunately, now it looks like we got Monte Rice and a couple of other guys that are going to be able to soak up those spots in the middle. Prayer request for Sarah's husband, Mike. Turn on the mower. Tore his rotator cuff. Oh. Well, don't sleep on that shoulder. All right, we'll be praying for y'all, Sarah. I don't know what I don't know what in the heck Mullen's doing. If you sit around and if you've watched any college football, you know good and well that one of the things you don't want to do is you don't want your play. If you're a coach, you don't want your players talking smack about the other team. You don't want them doing that. It builds what they call poster board material or billboard material, whatever material you want to call it. And every day that they're practicing against you, they're pointing at that and they're saying, these guys don't respect you. These guys aren't, they don't believe you guys are good enough to even play with them. How dare you step on the field? They're challenging you guys, your work ethic. They're challenging all your hard work. They're challenging your talent. And here you have a head coach that's doing it. First of all, I think Florida as a team is not a bad team. I don't think they're a bad team. I think they got some good defensive backs and some good cornerbacks. Are they anywhere near the caliber of Georgia? No, they're not even close. Georgia has 21 five-star players right now. 21. That's enough to fill almost the defense and the offense of starters with just 5 stars. And I can't even count the number of 4 stars we have, and a lot of those 4 stars are razor thin, close to having been 5 stars. And you want to run out there and talk smack? Ooh, I don't know that I could do that. The crap he pulled in the spin, yeah, I thought that was ridiculous. Using your spring game number to talk about the last time Georgia won something. I mean, listen, I didn't realize Dan Mullen was such a fan of Georgia. For him to sit there and obsess and try to draw attention to himself like a child, it's pretty pathetic. You get an opportunity to go out and play a serious team, you should take it seriously. You didn't see Georgia talking smack about Alabama. You never heard Georgia want to say, we want Alabama. We gave them a good fight. We went in there. We played with pride. We played hard. We lost the game, but we lost it. If we lost, we lost with integrity. We lost with as much honor as you can gain out of that. Dan Mullen, I think the combined score over the past however many times we've played him, I think it's like 60-20. It's not even close. Georgia was nearly shut them out, 42-7. And yet here you are thinking you're going to be in contention for a national championship, and you can't even win your division. You shut up and sit down, sir. You're completely out of line. Seeing more and more Georgia fans wearing their team colors here in Bama. Georgia getting ready to do big things. I agree. It's just Mullen's style. He did the same when he was at Mississippi. Look, it's okay to talk a good game, but here's what I'm saying. Nobody can doubt Nick Saban's results. Nobody can doubt Dabo Swinney's results. Nobody can really doubt Kirby Smart's results. If the only teams that can consistently beat you are teams that are winning national championships, that's impressive, especially for a guy who's never been a head coach. But here is Dan Mullen, been a head coach for, I don't know, what is it, 8 or 9 years now, something like that. And I don't know that he's ever won anything. I really don't. So for me, pack your bags, Mullen. Your time is limited. You're always going to be playing second and third string. And if Tennessee keeps up the route that they're going, it won't be long before they're back into being the number 2 in the SEC. Because or SEC East, when you step from Georgia to the next step down, it's, wow, who do you pick? Well, you could have said Kentucky, but Kentucky is, they lost Benny Snell. I don't know how they're going to be after he's gone. That was pretty much what carried them. South Carolina's a dumpster fire. I'm sorry, but it is. What's left? Tennessee and Florida, really. Texas A&M is coming in the SEC in general. Texas A&M's coming along. LSU's there. Arkansas is about to get demoted into the some other the FCS Sun Belt or some other crap. They're terrible. So yeah, Benny Snell was absolutely a generational talent. He'll always be a legend at University of Kentucky. Had he have been on a team like Clemson or Georgia or Alabama, that guy had potential to be a Heisman Trophy winner. The guy was unbelievable. The speed, the power he had. If he could have got some more push from a better, bigger offensive line, he would have been unbelievable. He's still quite impressive. Back to G-Day, looking at the fact that we didn't have Zamir White out there, I'm really interested to see what he can do. James Cook looked pretty fast, but I don't think he quite has the size he needs yet. He needs a little more size. Harrion is a bruiser. That guy was flat running over folks. Just a absolute beast. Absolute beast. Let's see. Mullen can get recruits. He never could have got at Mississippi State. If he can get a quarterback, they will be dangerous. He's had quarterbacks before and has never been a threat. I mean, look, Georgia had an extremely talented team when we played for the national championship. We just got out-coached. When we played Alabama last year in the SEC championship, we just got out-coached. So you can have talented players, but if your coach isn't on, if your coach doesn't have the right knowledge or the right amount of experience, it's going to be difficult to win. D-Rob, for those of you who didn't know, D-Rob didn't play in the spring game, and man, I really wanted to see that guy play. Demetrius Robertson come out of, I think it was UCLA, come out of California. He was originally committed to the Dogs. We need to be able to beat the SEC West team on the road. We seem to struggle with that. D-Rob was originally a 5-star receiver who was originally, I think, committed to Georgia and ended up going to UCLA. Went to UCLA his freshman year, had a standout year. Decided he wanted to come back to Georgia. Ended up getting him a waiver. Got the waiver, come back to UGA, and then didn't play. And there were so many people that were upset about that because apparently Kirby has this thing about where he wants receivers to be able to block. He went to Cal. That's right. Thanks, Keith. He had this thing where he wants receivers to block. And if receivers aren't blocking and he doesn't want to play them and, things of this nature. Look, I mean, Uncle Lou brought up a great point the other day. I saw in one of his videos. When it's 3rd and 9 and it's our 3rd and 12 or whatever it is, nobody's interested in whether or not a damn receiver can block. They need a guy that can catch. It's an obvious passing down. You're not running the ball. Put in guys that can catch. I don't know. Maybe that lesson's been learned, or maybe D-Rob got good enough to block. I don't know. But at the end of the day, if you got a guy out there that can catch and you're throwing the ball to him, I don't need him to catch. I just need him to catch the dang ball. Camel says Cal runs air raids. That's why D-Rob doesn't care about blocking. That's true, Grun. But if you can catch a ball, I don't really see the need. If you're the person catching the ball, why do you need to block? You don't. You know, get out there. Camel said he's interested in seeing how Georgia Tech will do with the new offense. Yeah, I'm glad Bama doesn't have a big target on their backs going into 2019. Too much hype from the media last season. We'll see what happens. I'm going to go through Georgia Tech and then we'll talk about Bama here in a second. Georgia Tech, getting a new coach is good for them. But there's so much information to go over when it comes to Georgia Tech. What happened to UGA players not getting drafted? People went to the draft too soon. Kirby Martin wants to get kids in that get. Keith said Kirby wants the kids to put in the work to get playing time. I agree with that, but you got to be able to catch, man. I mean, if you got to catch. I mean, if you're gonna catch. You don't not play quarterbacks because he can't block or for a running back. I mean, quarterback's got a job. It's to throw the ball. But I mean, if he's got a program, I can understand he wants them to put in the work. It makes sense. Back to Georgia Tech. Why am I not watching the draft? I'll be honest with you, Texas Savage. Once players go pro, I really lose interest, man. I really do. And I think that's because, in my opinion, hey, they've made it. Their dreams come true. They're set for life. I usually stay focused on these kids that are up and coming. You know, they're trying to reach their dreams. They're trying to attain their dreams. Once you get to let's say that you go in a first round draft pick, right? So you go to first round draft pick. You may go number 31, whatever it is, the last round in the first round draft pick, 32, whatever. And you get millions of dollars, but you never win a Super Bowl. Oh, boo-hoo. You're a freaking millionaire. Congratulations, you made it. But I just don't think that the NFL plays with the kind of passion, the kind of talent that college ball does. College ball kids get out there and they absolutely play with their heart. If there's a chance of winning them a game, they're going to go after it. And I just don't think it's the same way in the NFL. Kirby has the player work ethic attitude. Players aren't giving it. Players aren't giving attitude, or players aren't giving it. They have to earn it. I agree. The BDB. Thanks, man. Hey, big dog. Have you seen Clemson's per average recruiting class for 2020? Yeah, their recruiting class I think is pretty good, unless I read the wrong one. But it's still way too early to tell. It's way too early. There's so much that's going to go on between now and then. I'm not even worried about it. If you go back and you look back last year, you know, this team was up, that team was down, and this team finished here, and that team finished there. I think Texas A&M or somebody's ranked like number 8 right now. You know, there's no way they're going to finish there. So, I mean, it's just way too early to tell on that. But back to Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech has run a triple option for as long as I can remember, and it's always done them okay. You know, they're one of those teams that they look like they have a great defense. Boy, I ain't getting up in no 3-point stance. I'll end up on the ground. It'll be a 1-point stance. I'll be all laid down. Hey, what's going on, Mark Paul? The offenses that they've been running at Georgia Tech has been that triple option, and it looks like they have a really good defense. But what they run into is the defense isn't that. It's not really that it's there. It's that their offense chews up so much clock. So it's hard to put a ton of yards on the board if your offense doesn't have the ball. So the triple option, you know, they 2 or 3 downs every time, get a first down, but they're not throwing the ball 20, 30 yards downfield for these big gashing pass plays. They just don't. They just wear you down with the triple option. So a lot of their players are really designed to work into that scheme and work into that offense. So it's going to take him a while to get those players cycled out that are not running the triple option, to get players cycled in. I think their offensive line will be okay. Defense needs a lot of work. They have basically no skill position players. Their quarterback is a running back for the most part. I think it was a couple of years ago. that 3 or 4 years ago. I can't remember exactly when. But once Georgia shut down Georgia Tech so bad that they had to start throwing the ball, it ended up that it ended up that he threw like 5 interceptions that game. What's going on, Cade? What's that? Texas Savage, the big dog, has already been consulted. What does he ask? Yeah. What are you doing? Hey, will you do me a favor? Yeah. If you don't mind. So anyway, just fill it up. You're not do nothing else to it. So the thing is that the kind of players that they were recruiting were not really the kind of players that UGA was recruiting. So even though they were in the state of Georgia, they weren't really recruiting against UGA. It never hurt us. That was another thing Uncle Lou brought up, which makes a lot of sense. So now they have to, if they want to increase their offense, they want to be they want to have the same kind of offense, spread offense, or a pro style, whatever they want to run. They have to compete now against Georgia and Clemson and Alabama and Florida and Texas and everybody else that recruits out of the state of Georgia. Now you're recruiting for the same players. So it's going to take them an extended period of time to be able to. Didn't overfill it, did you? Oh, you're the man. Thanks, son. So anyway. Oh, that's good. You're not going to start that up right now, are you? You're not fixing to start that up right now, are you?
Not right here.
Well, not right now, right? Hint, hint, wink, wink.
Wink, wink, and then set up in the backyard.
Well, then go to the backyard. My son's getting the lawnmower out. He wants to cut the grass. I shouldn't be complaining. But whenever you look at the fact that, cut blocks. God almighty, you're right about that. So they're going to be recruiting against the same kind of players that UGA is and everybody else is recruiting. So it's going to take them a number of years to get a decent enough recruiting class to make them a competitive anything in the ACC. There was a specific kind, style, and type of player that was recruited and wanted to play at Georgia Tech. The only other players that you're going to see go to Georgia Tech that are highly talented players are going to be some kind of student who's highly interested in whatever program they're running at Georgia Tech. It's just not going to be a lot. And as far as the cut blocks, golly, man, that used to chap my hide pretty good, because if you've watched Georgia Tech, one of the things that they do is whenever they hand the ball off to one of the running backs or to whoever they're handing the ball off to, the linemen actually dive at your knees. And it can cause all kind of problems, man. It causes all kind of problems. Jimbo, you excited this morning, bud? How's your day going, man? Oh, it's been G-Day was wet and soggy. It was a little windy. It was a little cold down in the bowl. I'm doing good, Jim. Doing real good. And to still pull out, 53, 54,000, man, it was pretty impressive. I think if it had been a nice, pretty day like they originally predicted, and especially if it hadn't been on Easter weekend, you probably would have seen an 80 or 90,000 crowd in there. It was pretty nice. I got to bring a couple of my step nephew-in-laws, however you want to say it. Got to pull those guys in, and those guys really enjoyed it. I live about an hour and a half, 2 hours from Athens. I live about an hour away from Georgia Tech, so I can go to those games pretty easily. I'm trying to convince cousin Big Dog to go to the opener with me. That's gonna be a Vanderbilt game, I think. Do me a favor, guys. You've been on this long, and hit thumbs up for me. It helps the channel. I'm trying to continue to drive my number here. I'm trying to get to 1,500 before the season starts. I'm around 1,465 now, so it really helps. You guys have any questions about anything going on in college football? I'd love to hear from you guys. Let me know down in the comment section over here. Wisconsin. if there's any Georgia fans in the comment section here, Jimmo says Wisconsin must scare the crap out of Georgia schools. Mark, we play Vanderbilt first. So I'm gonna do something real quick, guys. Don't go away. I'm gonna grab my iPad. It's got some stuff on there I want to talk about. I'll be right back. It's about 5 feet away. All right, welcome back. Ryan Day taking over Ohio State. He's got a lot of work to do, man. Will Notre Dame be a challenge if the players don't show up early? I don't know. I don't think Notre Dame's really anything to worry about, but I think you shouldn't overlook them either. That's the kind of team that if you end up losing to them right now, it can be a problem for you later. If you beat them now, you essentially shut them out of the playoffs. So what we got here. Some of Kirby's success is due to the East being down. His recruiting is fantastic, but 5-star players aren't going to sit on the bench for 2 and 10 seasons with no national title. I think everybody knows, and you know, granted that I'm biased because I'm a Georgia fan. I think everybody knows that Georgia is definitely right there in the throes of it more than anybody else. Unless you're Clemson or Alabama, maybe Oklahoma. There's no other team out there that has a better chance of winning the national championship than Georgia. There's just not. ESPN will tell you that. Las Vegas will tell you that. The other team fans will tell you that. Georgia fans will obviously tell you that. But one of the things that you're going to run into is that these other teams, like, for instance, Clemson. Let's say you want to go play at Clemson. Just because you're a 5-star doesn't mean you're going to even get an offer from Clemson. Dabo Swinney does an outstanding job of just picking the players that he wants for his format. Just because you're 5-star doesn't mean he's going to pick you up. Now, Alabama, on the other hand, they're kind of the same way. And Georgia is starting to learn some of that methodology that just because you start picking players you want instead of the players you need. Ricky Baker, boy. I love Ricky, man. Ricky is he's in the almost comment section of all the games where Georgia loses. He's always calling us out. Ricky, what's your team, man? What's your team, Ricky? Spike the like and ring the bell. I appreciate that, man. But sound like a preacher on Sunday. Yeah, you guys do that. Like and share the channel, man. Go through Georgia schedule real quick. We play Vanderbilt August 31st, then we play Murray State, Arkansas State, Notre Dame. And I'll go through each one of these games real quick. Headed to Tuscaloosa this afternoon. I'll be passing right on the University of Alabama, and a great way to hang out with my great niece. You have fun, Sarah. Your team is the Florida Gators. I know why you're salty, sir. Listen, there's no reason why, and I'm a Gator hater from way back. You know, I've always been a Gator hater fan. But at the same time, I have to look at the numbers. I have to look at the facts. Florida has spoiled Georgia's opportunities more than a couple of times, and vice versa. And that's just why. I mean, it's a big rivalry game for us. It's always been a big rivalry game. No Gator tears, please. Florida still got a long way to go, but back to what I was saying about recruiting. Georgia's gotten to a point now where it recruits players it wants rather than players it needs. Now, yes, there's always going to be players we need, and we try to recruit those positions. But it's becoming more focused on players we want. Instead of having a big gap in the offensive line, well, right now we don't have to recruit offensive line players. We don't need those, so we can recruit the players we want. So it's always been in the past, especially in the Mark Richt years, where we were recruiting maybe so, Ricky, but those are days of old. And that's the great thing about college football. it's always next man up, and this game's on right now. I mean, you know what I mean? It's go time now. Georgia is one play away from a national title. Yep. I agree, Dwayne, but Tua put it where he needed to, man. He did a good job. You can't take that away from him. I'm gonna roll through the Georgia schedule, and how I think we'll do this year. Gorgeous weather here in Mobile. Oh yeah, it's pretty today. It's pretty today. I'm just south of Atlanta, so Georgia versus Vandy. Georgia should win that game by 2 or 3 touchdowns. It's the opening game. We definitely need some studs on D-line, though. We do, but our secondary is dad blame impressive, and the linebacker core that we have now is pretty stout. So even if the D-line can't hold up, I know that there's guys behind them that can still get the job done. Murray State will kill them. Arkansas State will kill them. Notre Dame, which is our 4th game in, that game may prove to be a little bit of a all right, Ricky. Ricky's calling me out. He goes, tell me how you lose twice. Lose to Alabama, Crimson Tide, and then lose to Texas Longhorns in the Sugar Bowl. Glad to. Alabama went out, did a great job playing football. They got shut down in the first half. Georgia was beating the brakes off of them. Everybody will admit to that. Nick Saban made a coaching adjustment, and Jim Chaney couldn't keep up. So they ended up having to put in their second quarterback, or another 5-star quarterback, to be able to beat us. It's the second time that happened in less than a year. And then Georgia was really upset that we didn't get chosen to go play for a playoff game. A lot of our players didn't play in that game, and a lot of our players didn't care. Now, do I agree that they should have done that? No. I believe if you're on the team, you're on the team for the whole season, from the first snap to the last flag. And our players didn't play that way. We didn't deserve to win that game. Texas did. Texas played their tails off. Texas come out there to do what they to win the game, and that's exactly what they did. So hats off to them. That's what we should have done. We didn't do it. So I'll tell you how you won the Peach Bowl. So tell me how we won the Peach Bowl. Well, you guys went out there and won the Peach Bowl because you're just a better team than Michigan. Michigan come out there and they came out to play, and they couldn't beat y'all. Y'all just played better. Now, am I going to sit here and say that Michigan is as good as Texas? No. I believe Texas would have whooped them no matter what. Did Florida do a great job? Absolutely. Florida kept their foot on the gas the whole time and absolutely buried Michigan. And trust me, during that game, I was absolutely cheering you guys on. One of the things about the SEC is that, and other conferences don't understand this, is that we'll pull for our conference even if we don't like the team. Michigan was exposed late. Maybe. I think Michigan had more ability than what they showed most of the season. But I think by the time they got to the end of the season, they just weren't the team that they could have been. And Florida went out there and put their foot on their neck. I mean, as simple as that. So, back to the Notre Dame game, which we play the 4th game this year. That's the only game that I see is really going to be problematic for us until we get to Texas A&M. Everybody else we should beat soundly. The next closest team after that is probably Florida. Florida's got some talent, but I don't think they have the depth that Georgia has. And I think that it's going to take a lot more than just a couple of good players on offense to be able to outperform Georgia's defense. And if you don't believe that, go back and watch Georgia's spring game. I am really excited about the number of the type and style of quarterbacks that we have at backup. Georgia will tear Notre Dame to shreds. Man, I really hope so. I hope that Georgia walks into that with the mentality of Notre Dame never should have been where they were last year. I think that they should get in there and just completely show out. Georgia is so very close to winning a national championship, and we need to. I mean, we honestly do. But I know what it's going to be. I know exactly what it's going to be. It's going to be, oh, you won one national championship, and the last time you won one was 30, 40 years ago, and the one before that was 30, 40 years before that. I mean, so even if you win a national championship, you're still going to get trolled. I mean, it's just the way it's going to go. But, the national championship's not for everybody else. It's for us. And, we look at that and we go, hey, you know what? This year was a great year for us. We did a good job. Now, one of the things that it seems to be is that especially a lot of fans of other teams, they may not have won a national championship recently either, but they're quick to tell you, well, you didn't win one either. Well, that doesn't mean we don't have a great football team. Georgia has an outstanding football team. We have an outstanding coach. It just takes a lot to win that. It takes a lot of hard work. It takes a lot of preparation, and it takes a little bit of luck. Yeah, the committee got it wrong with Notre Dame last year pretty bad. But I'm going to go ahead and tell you, even if we would have played, I don't know how long it took Dabo to win one. I don't think it took him long. Did it? I don't know a whole lot about Dabo. This is what I know about Dabo right here. Every time I see that guy. Every time I see that guy, this is what I see. Every time, man. Hang on, let me get him down a little further. There we go. Every time I see Dabo, this is what I see right here. Texas A&M and Florida, yeah, but we can't drop the ball at Notre Dame. We drop the ball at Notre Dame, and all it does is it makes us look even worse. One of the things I'm going to do real quick. Yeah, it wasn't overnight. Let me pull up something real quick. Let me go to. You want to talk about schedules, man? I want to take. Have you guys seen the South Carolina Gamecock schedule? Oh my gosh! So I'm gonna type that in because I want to go over that. So for y'all who haven't seen this, oh man. So here's what South Carolina gets to contend with. Week 1 they get North Carolina Tar Heels. No big deal. Dabo imitation of dumb. Takes years to pull off that look. It does. I got some car doors over here, man. So week 1 they got University of North Carolina. Okay, not a bad. Whatever. They could win or lose that game. Then they got Charleston Southern. They should win that game. Week 3, they have Alabama. Then they have Missouri, Kentucky. Then they play Georgia. Then they play Florida. Then they play Tennessee, Vandy, App State. Then they play Texas A&M. And then they play Clemson. Oh, man. That's got to be one of the hardest. That's got to be one of the hardest schedules in all of college football. It's got to be. You're playing. Golly, man. That's a mean run right there. At the bottom of Georgia's national, it says no refills. Don't believe it. The dogs will have their day again. I appreciate that, Dwayne. I'm sorry I may have missed a comment or two. Looks like Cool Dog said once they got that QB at Clemson, you knew it was over and my home team football played where he was from. He's from Lawrenceville, isn't he? Trevor Lawrence is from, not Lawrenceville. Where's he from? Forget where that guy's from. But anyway, the upcoming season is going to be interesting. I mean, there's a lot going on. There's tons of reasons to be excited if you're a Georgia fan. Our schedule is, I know what I want to talk about. Hot dog, I forgot. Let me go back. Clemson schedule. That's what I want to talk about. Yeah, that's a mean schedule. Clemson schedule this coming up year. Where's that, dude? Clemson schedule is a cakewalk if I remember. Yeah, it's got to be one of the toughest. Clemson gets, let's say they get a pretty easy one. Georgia Tech, they'll beat them. Week 2, they get Texas A&M. Now this could be a little bit of a trap game. Texas A&M played LSU really close and really hard for a really long time. I think Texas A&M might have an opportunity to beat Clemson if Clemson comes out and has a little bit of a bad game, and Texas A&M comes out with something to prove, and they come out to play. They could win that game. We'll see. Clemson, Syracuse, they'll beat them. Charlotte, they'll beat them. Then they play Tar Heels, they'll beat them. And then they play Florida State. They'll beat them. They'll play Louisville, beat them. Boston College, Wofford, North Carolina State. North Carolina State was okay last year. Then they play Wake Forest, and, of course, they play South Carolina. They'll walk that. They'll walk that. They'll put up banner year numbers this year. Alabama doesn't have the easiest one because they still have to play Texas A&M, and they have to play LSU, and they play Auburn. And Auburn's one of those teams that's an in-state rivalry. It can go either way, so we'll just see what happens. Dabo was coach since 08, won a Natty in 16. Georgia had a schedule. That would be nice. What was I going to say? I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, FSU. My God, where are all of these crazy, crack-smoking, meth-dealing freaking FSU fans coming from? I mean, I say that in jest, but these guys, for some reason, they believe that they've already won the 2019 national championship. These guys are talking more smack than Dan Mullen after 3 espressos. These guys are just like, hey, your team's crap. And I'm like, man, y'all were 5-7 last year. Why are you even talking to me? Last year I said Mississippi State was very unexpected. Seen it in the draft? Damn it, boy. Cartersville. That's right. It's I don't know, man. These FSU fans are just completely out of hand. You know, and I kind of wished we'd play them this year just so we could beat the brakes off of them and send them back to the swamp. Mullen on 3 espressos. Dude, Mullen's out of his mind. It's a cheap parlor trick what he's trying to do. He's trying to gain attention for himself because nobody's looking at Florida. Florida's going to have an okay ball club, but I'm going to tell you like this. When you're looking at, Clemson's schedule is a complete joke. So you got Clemson, Alabama, and we'll say, depending on the year, and then we'll say Georgia's kind of right in here, and then maybe Oklahoma and Texas. And then the bottom kind of falls out. There's really kind of nothing left. Ohio State hasn't been the same since the Bama beatdown. That's true. Man, my phone's dying. I got a little bit left. Michigan still has a good team. Absolutely, they have a good team. But the teams that I'm talking about are elite teams. I'm talking about teams that no matter who you have a conversation with, that's who they're going to name as the top ones. They're going to go Alabama, Clemson, Georgia, Oklahoma, Texas, and maybe Ohio State. And then after that, it's just kind of the bottom kind of falls out. Now, the jump between those is pretty drastic. The Michigans of the world, the Washington State, and those teams, they're good teams. They're going to win 8, 9, 10 games a season, 11 games a season. But are they going to? What happens when they get into a serious playoff conversation? They're going to get trounced. And Notre Dame, God, people know I hate Notre Dame. Notre Dame has no business playing for a freaking in a playoff game until they join a damn division. All your other teams at your school play for the ACC. Join the damn ACC or get out. Love your boy Mullen. He has the energy Florida hasn't had in a long time. That's true. He has a lot of energy. I will give him that. One of the things that is helping him though is that what he's doing is, in a way, is kind of smart because he's saying that. If he goes out here and he talks all this smack against Georgia and he loses, he can look at the camera and go, well, it's worth a shot, right? He can do that. But if he doesn't, if he gets out there and he beats Georgia, he goes, hey, look what I did. I told you I was going to whoop him. So for him, it's kind of, he doesn't have anything to lose. There's no reason for him not to do it. Other than it looks kind of pathetic. And when Georgia goes out there and hands it to him hot, he's really going to look bad, and I think that could hurt his recruiting, but it depends on how he plays it. He does have a lot of energy. I just wish he'd stop handing out the jorts to all the fans up down there. Ooh, we've been on for a while. Harbaugh, I'd like to see him exposed again and see Skip dance around his face. Maybe. I think one of the other things I wanted to talk about this year is all this talk about Jalen Hurts winning the Heisman. Man, I wish they'd put that in their hat and throw it away because there's no way that's happening. Sorry about that, guys. The phone died on me. We'll have to make a transition here real quick. But give me a second here. We'll get set. And we're there. I think we're there. Nope, not quite. There we go. Okay, so Jalen Hurts is not going to win the Heisman. I mean, basically the only way that would happen is you would have to have Trevor Lawrence basically quit college football. And there's a couple other quarterbacks out there that would have to essentially just quit. Not to mention all the other talented running backs and other, he's not winning it. He's not even going to be close. So, well, guys, obviously having some battery issues, so we're going to jump off here. I appreciate you guys for jumping on. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, thumbs up, and hopefully we'll do another video here pretty soon. So, thanks so much for tuning in, guys. You guys have a great day, and as always, God bless.